crew of the Skuldelev trading vessels, documented at Roskilde Fjord in 1000 CE, crossed open ocean without a single water filter, and arrived with clean drinking water in every barrel. Not luck, a process. One so effective that hospitals still use its core mechanism today, and it vanished from household practice almost exactly when municipal water companies began charging monthly, not because it failed, because it worked without anyone to bill for it. By the end of this, you will have made activated charcoal from scrap wood in your own yard, and you will never purchase a water filter again. There is one decision in this process, a single step most people reverse, that determines whether what comes out of that charcoal is clean water or black sludge. You will see it. The Norse craftsmen at Hedeby, operating 800 to 1050 CE, charred the inside of every water cask before it was loaded aboard ship. Els Rosdahl documents this in The Vikings. Penguin, 1987. Casks treated this way preserved drinking water across months at sea, through summer heat and salt air without a single additive. The mechanism behind why burned wood keeps water safe is specific and precise. Understanding it changes what you see every time wood turns to char in a fire. Most people who attempt this make one mistake before the fire is ever lit. It is not about choosing the wrong wood, it is about what they do, and critically what they must not do, to the oxygen. You need hardwood. Oak, birch, ash, dense, untreated wood from any source you already have. Nothing painted, nothing pressure treated, nothing that smells synthetic when it begins to warm. The Norse worked primarily with birch. Excavations at Birka, 750 to 975 CE, recovered birch charcoal in both forge contexts and settlement refuse, and Neil Price notes its broader practical function in The Viking Way, Cambridge, 2019. Cut or break pieces roughly the size of your fist, dense, dry if possible, though green wood works. It just needs more heat and more time. You need a metal container with a fitting lid, a paint tin, an old coffee can, any steel vessel that will hold heat without melting and closes completely. Before the lid goes on, punch one small hole through it, no wider than a pencil, clean through the metal, centered. This hole is not decorative. This hole is the entire mechanism. Pack your wood inside as tightly as it will go, close the lid, and place the container whole side up. Set it into the coals directly, not balanced above the flame, but nested inside burning material, surrounded on all sides. You want even heat moving through the metal walls all the way around, not one hot face and one cold one. Now watch the hole. Within a few minutes, smoke will push through it. Watch the color carefully. White and dense at first, that is moisture leaving the wood. Then gray as the wood begins to break down. Then thinner still. That moment, when the smoke becomes nearly clear, just a faint shimmer rising from the hole, is when you pull the can, not a minute after. That thin vapor means the volatile compounds in the wood have cooked away, and what remains is nearly pure carbon. Pull it now. Do not open the lid. Set the sealed can aside and leave it completely alone until it is cool against your hand. An hour minimum, 2 to be certain. The air inside that can is almost entirely stripped of oxygen. Open the lid while the carbon is still hot, and fresh air reaches it. The whole batch reignites silently from the inside and turns to gray powder. Nothing. Seal it. Wait. This single discipline is what separated Norse craftsmen who had clean water from those who started the whole process again. When the can is fully cool, open it. The pieces inside should be jet black, uniform in color, and light in your hand, noticeably lighter than what you put in. Knock 2 pieces together gently. They should ring, a dry, faint sound almost like 2 small pebbles tapping. If they are gray or crumble to dust between your fingers, the fire ran too low or you pulled too early, start again. Good charcoal has patience built into it. Crush the pieces, not to powder, to small, rough chunks about the size of peas. Fold a piece of heavy cloth twice, place the charcoal inside, press with a smooth stone. Coarse and irregular is better than fine and even. Craftsmen at Jorvik, York, 866 to 954 CE, processed forged charcoal the same way, and the irregular surface that made it useful for smelting iron is the same quality that makes it useful here. More surface area means more contact with the water. More contact means more purification. Rinse the crushed charcoal under running water until what drains off is completely clear. Not mostly clear. Completely clear. You're removing surface ash and fine particles that would cloud your output without adding any purification. This takes longer than it looks like it should. Pour slowly, let the water drain fully, repeat. When the rinse water runs clean and odorless, stop. Lay a tightly woven cloth, linen, cotton, any close weave fabric, over the mouth of a clean vessel and secure it. Pour the rinsed charcoal into the cloth in an even layer 2 to 3 centimeters deep, no gaps at the edges. Now pour your untreated water in at the top in a thin, slow stream, not a pour, a trickle. Let it find its own way through. The slower the contact time, the more the charcoal works. collect what passes through underneath. Smell it, no odor. For heavily contaminated sources, standing water, groundwater with visible sediment, run a second pass through a fresh layer of charcoal. The first pass takes the bulk, the second takes what the first missed. To know whether your charcoal is still active, drop a piece in a glass of clean water with a single drop of food coloring. If the charcoal is working, the color disappears within 30 minutes. If it does not disappear, the charcoal is saturated and needs replacing. That test requires nothing but a piece of colored water and your eyes. Applied without electricity, without test strips, without infrastructure of any kind, the scale of what that means when supply lines fail is worth sitting with quietly. If this method is useful to you, mark the video and come back to it. The process for producing biochar at volume, enough to filter all the water a household needs from a single afternoon of burning, is in the next video. Subscribe now so it appears when it goes live. One physical principle explains everything you just did, and it is precise. Think of a sponge, but instead of absorbing water into its body, imagine a surface that grabs contaminants and refuses to release them. That is adsorption, not absorption. The low oxygen burn opened the cellular structure of the wood into millions of microscopic pores, each one carrying a surface charge that attracts and bonds organic compounds, heavy metals, chlorine, and most common waterborne toxins. 1 gram of properly made activated charcoal contains approximately 500 square meters of active surface. Hospitals use this exact mechanism to treat acute poisoning. NASA has built it into closed-loop water recycling systems for long-duration space missions. The filter on your kitchen counter uses a commercially packaged, slower version of what you just made from sticks in a tin can. It stopped being common household knowledge almost exactly when treated. Municipal water became a monthly charge, not because it failed, because it worked without the infrastructure. What you hold now is a filter made from nothing, running on a mechanism old enough to carry Norse sailors across the Atlantic. That changes something specific about who you are. The water casks loaded aboard the Gokstad ship 900 CE are still studied by maritime archaeologists, not as relics, but as engineering. The people who charred those barrels before every voyage were not preparing for collapse. They were not afraid. They were simply people who understood one physical principle well enough that no one could remove it from their lives. That is what you are now. If this gave you something real, share it with one person who would use it. Leave a comment below with what wood you used, oak, birch, scrap lumber, so others can see what works in their region. The knowledge is more useful moving than sitting still. You do not need a corporation between you and clean water.